We do want to encourage our viewers to join the movement to bring justice for Breonna Taylor at www.colorofchange.org. And so right now we're going to move into the second part of our conversation, and I'm going to bring our esteemed panelists on. So if you just give me one moment.
These powerhouses.
Yes, we're going to bring in some powerhouse ladies here.
Hi, Mary. Hi, Lana. So bear with us as we try to get our notes together and figure things out. We just want to have a wonderful, natural conversation of all your greatness. So I'm going to let Tara do the little introduction. Yes, I think we have, what, 2 more people? Yay! Everybody's coming in. I'm so honored. I can't believe it. Like, this is first class for me.
All right, so we're going to start with segment 2 of today's conversation. I am thrilled to bring to you our distinguished pioneers, trailblazers who showcase the brilliance and beauty of Black couples, Black love, and Black wedding professionals in the wedding industry. Mary CHATMAN, if you could give the audience a little wave because it's going to show differently on everybody's screen, is the CEO and editor-in-chief of Black Bride magazine. Founded in 1998, Black Bride is an online platform for multicultural brides and grooms of color. The brand called on Mary to become a writer about love and marriage. With a vision looming to launch a multicultural magazine prior to joining the Black Bride team, it was no coincidence that when Black Bride was up for acquisition, Mary and her husband knew that she was called for a greater purpose to acquire the company. With a complete transformation in 2010, the company has grown exponentially while maintaining a powerful 22-year internet presence. Mary refers to the acquisition as her Sojourner Truth moment to give back and leave a sustainable legacy for women of color. Welcome, Mary. Next up, we have Miss Jacqueline Nwobu. Jackie, if you could wave. Is CEO and editor-in-chief of Munaluchi Bridal magazine, the leading national distributed wedding magazine and online wedding marketplace, catering to multicultural couples and serving the wedding and events industry. Since the launch of Munaluchi in 2010, the brand has grown to be an industry leader with a robust multicultural marketplace and social media influence of over 600,000 followers worldwide. With a strong and focused vision to champion diversity, Jacqueline has successfully disrupted the industry to influence positive change and inclusiveness. Her TEDx talk on reshaping an industry one talk at a time has received rave reviews. Welcome, Jackie. Miss Eliana Bosicolt. Did I get it right, Eliana?
Got it, you got it.
Okay, thank you. Is a creative powerhouse. In 2017, Eliana launched the Be Collective magazine to address the growing need to showcase the work and talent of minorities in the wedding and events industry via the print market. In 2018, she expanded her vision and filled another gap in the industry with the Be Collective Awards to recognize and honor the industry's best and brightest, the nation's top men and women of color who currently create in today's industry. Continuing in 2020, Eliana launched the Bespoke podcast, which invites listeners on a journey discussing topics such as weddings and events, business tips, and real-world applications. The LEB brand will continue to grow and flourish, and so that everyone can be inspired, be bold, be elevated, and be celebrated. Welcome, Eliana.
Thank you.
Next up is Miss ELANA Walker. Alana, if you could wave to the audience. Alana entered the wedding industry as a certified wedding planner in 2009, planning a wedding for a former classmate who was stationed in Afghanistan. From that point forward, her career took off in North Carolina, in the North Carolina wedding market, and soon affording her opportunities to work outside of the state and country. Her work has been featured in various magazines and blogs and has won several awards, including Aaliyah's Trinity Award for Event of the Year, Best Wedding with a budget of $75,000 plus, and more. After noticing a void of features for beautiful Southern weddings of color in 2014, she decided to create Southern Noir Weddings, a wedding resource for inspiration for the bride of color getting married in the South. Celebrating Southern Black wedding beauty and culture, as well as uplifting wedding vendors who service them, is what Eliana is most proud of. In 2018, she also created the Southern Noir Weddings Bridal Experience, another way to support vendors. JC Banks, if you could wave.
Yay.
From the commencement of her professional career, JC Banks always had a passion for and worked in the legal field. She has devoted the majority of her time creating better and more equitable lives for those around her. Mrs. Banks received a degree in criminal justice from her undergraduate studies, and she went to receive a JD with a concentration in patent law. JC is currently pursuing her LM degree to become an administrative judge. And then next, is your other half still beside you?
No, he's actually working.
He's actually working. Okay. So he had to disappear on us. He was on here earlier. He is the other half of Web Mobile. So we're going to talk a little technology with JC today. So thank you everyone for joining us, and we will begin. Meredith, do you want me to start with the questions, or you want to start?
Well, what I did want to say is I just wanted to thank all the ladies for being here, and we admire you all and the work that you've put out for so many years. And you heard our conversation with Mickey Taylor, and for us, the purpose of having this conversation with you guys, it's because you have been successfully serving the community for over, combined with Essence, 125 years. You know, your content has been just gorgeously laid out, and I know the sacrifices many of you have had to make to get here and to keep it going in a digital age, talking to an audience that you and I all know exists, but for some reason others didn't realize that they existed, and yet you still hung in there. So I just wanted to say, you know, thank you for making the time out of your busy schedules for even having this conversation in such a crucial time where weddings, COVID, you know, racism is all being addressed, but you guys still have to make pretty pictures. And people, you need to tell brides that are canceling their weddings, rescheduling their weddings, what to do and still keep them happy about the union of marriage. So thank you. Tara, it's yours.
Okay, so we'll get started. Let's talk a little background with you ladies. In reading your biographies, you all came into this business to fill a void. Beyond filling that void, can you go a little bit into why did you go into the wedding publishing industry? And we will start with Mary with that question. You're on mute.
First of all, I want to say that I am truly honored to be on this panel with all these esteemed, women that, you know, that I don't know everybody. You know, it's been a while since I have talked to some of the ladies on the call, on the panel, but I'm really honored to be invited to the table. So thank you guys for, Meredith, you and Tara, for bringing me to this table, this very powerful table of women and with the collective, you know, experience and work that we're all doing. And you know, I'm pretty full right now, you know, off of listening to Mickey Taylor. Like, you know, I just wish I had some time to sit here and bask in, you know, a powerful woman like that, that just gave us so many bullets. You know, she didn't give us one or two takeaways. I mean, I tried to write pretty fast, but you know, I have 12 things that she said that, you know, really are great things to live by. And in some cases, you know, I'm sure we're all, you know, doing. So let me just say that to start. But for me, you know, I got into this industry, it's a long history, too long for this, you know, particular call, so it's completely shortened. But I'm a marriage advocate, first of all. I really believe in marriage. I believe in the power of love. I'm excuse me, literally in love with love. So for me, it is all about the love. The love stories are what I like to read, what I like to hear about. And I think that those stories really need to be told, because, you know, I can recall a while back having a brother, a Black guy, I can't think, I should have had his name ready, who wrote a book saying that Black women don't get married and that Black men don't get married. And he was actually on CNN. And I thought, wow, can I just pull the plug on this right now? Because that is a lie. I mean, we're all featuring weddings every day. So that's not possible. So that is what, you know, part what fueled me as well. And then just my love for fashion. I mean, I always tell my husband, God, I wish we could get married, you know, every week, and, you know, and I have one now. I mean, there's just so much out there. I love fashion and flowers, and, you know, it's just was something that I was already doing with my other business, Love Life Designs, was decorating for romance for couples on their wedding night. So it just made sense to me. And then, you know, after researching and seeing the void, you know, wanted to be a part of filling it.
Thank you, thank you. Jackie, can you answer that same question as far as why did you choose the wedding industry?
Sure. And just like Mary said, I really enjoyed the session that just happened beforehand. I took all kinds of notes too. That was powerful. I got into this kind of by accident. I didn't plan to get into the wedding industry at all. It was really one of those crazy conversations that we had, my husband and I, and him picking up a camera and getting into photography, specifically wedding photography, where we started realizing, okay, all these weddings that we were shooting and all the weddings that we've attended, we realized there wasn't a publication out there that was showcasing the weddings. And so it was during that process that we actually said, okay, well, we're going to launch a magazine, you know, and we kind of went off of the photography business. You know, when you're a photographer and you're shooting a wedding, it's not just shooting a wedding, you have to produce an album, you know, you have to, you know, curate images for the album. So we went from that process of making our albums for our brides to, okay, well, if we can do an album, we can do a magazine, because what's the difference? Like, we're going to showcase love stories, right? And so to make a long story short, that's how we started doing the research for the publication, and then started figuring out how to put it together, and going through the whole situation with the wholesalers and the distributors and trying to figure that out, and finally getting it on the newsstands. So that's how we actually got into it.
So hold that thought about the research, because that's going to be another question that we have here. Because we do want to talk about the research as far as like what do each of you all do to target your target audience. Eliana, why did you get in the wedding publishing industry? Because you're a planner, just like I am, and then, you know, planning all these illustrious events. So talk about your strategy as far as going into the wedding industry as a publisher.
Yeah, my strategy is very similar. I decided to go into publishing. I started with an actual coffee table book. So at that time, you cannot, and still to this day in 2020, you cannot walk into any store, Barnes and Noble, books and Million, whatever it's called now, and see a woman of color on the cover of a book, you know, and that's the first thing as a bride, especially a Black bride, you're excited, you want to go and buy a planner, you're buying all the magazines, you're buying everything that you could imagine. And to know that my brides would walk into the store and not see themselves represented, I just couldn't take it anymore. So it started with the coffee table book. From there, the magazine just kind of grew from the industry just saying, hey, you know, we want to be a part of it. What else can we do? And I said, well, I'm not going to do a coffee table book including everyone. The next step was just to add to the market of the magazine world. And our approach is a little bit different. It's not just weddings. It's maybe about 60% weddings, 40% celebrations, because as we know, as the Black community, we celebrate any and everything, you know? So I wanted to highlight all of the high-end events that happen throughout the nation.
Awesome, thank you. ELANA, talk about your aspiration to create the Southern girl. I'm a Southern girl at heart myself. So talk about that aspiration and how us Southerners think.
Well, even though I'm not a Southerner, because I'm from Chicago, I have lived in North Carolina for a pretty decent amount of time. And this is where I started my career 11 years ago as a planner. And you know, I when I started out, it was about, okay, I love, like, you know, Mary said, like, I love love, you know, I'm a Libra. That's what we do. We love love. We love beauty. We love harmony. We love all those things. And so being a wedding planner was, it was natural. And so as I'm going through my career and, you know, I am seeing wonderful things through Black Bride and Munaluchi, and just, you know, being able and honored to be a part of their publications and their blogs and things of that nature. You know, I thought to myself, oh my God, there's so many beautiful specific cultural things that happen in the South, in Louisiana, in Charleston, in Virginia, in Tennessee. And I felt like there was something that needed to be just dedicated to that. And so that's where Southern Noir came in. It's not necessarily something that's about, you know, overly glitz or overly glam or anything like that, but more so just celebrating the culture, the different cultures that happen within Southern Black weddings.
Thank you, thank you. And to back up a little bit from one of the comments that Jackie said, as far as the research, testing the market, and I would say, if you can kind of highlight the overall as far as any publication, but were there any differences as far as being a Black publication as far as your research into getting to market?
Who is that to?
Jackie.
Oh, absolutely. When we started doing the research to find out how to get the publication on newsstands, we found a distributor who signed us up very quickly, which we were happy about. But then they sent our magazine to Arizona and South Dakota and North Dakota and Alaska and Wyoming, and people couldn't find the magazine in Atlanta or DC, you know? So we had to go through the whole process of really I mean, we're talking years of printing publications only to have them shredded, trying to find out the process of how do we get our publication to places where Black people are going to find them. And we gave them a list, like, here's a list of 14 places you can send it to, and we'd always get the same thing. Well, because there aren't other publications similar to yours, we don't have anything to compare it to. And I said, well, just put it where Essence is. You know, like, that's a good start. Essence is there, you know, the demographic is the same. So it took a lot of learning the hard way to try and figure out how to get the publication on the newsstands where our audience could actually find it. And when we eventually we made a decision to take it off newsstands, which was extremely difficult for us, because there will still never be a feeling like going into your grocery store and seeing your publication on a newsstand and then taking it from the back where they put it and bringing it up to the front, you know? Like, we did all that. Yeah, and it snapped the picture like, hey, I mean, we did all those things, but we had to make a decision when we really started to understand how print publishing and distribution works, that if we want to get the publication to our audience, we need to get it to them ourselves. We can't rely on a third party to determine where our audience is and how they're going to get the publication.
So you tried the traditional route and then found out that you're being put to the back trying to do the traditional route. And so you pivoted, and now they, your audience purchases the magazines from you, correct?
Correct. We give out the digital copies for free, and if they want a print copy, they purchase it from us, and it has worked tremendously for us.
Okay. And Mary,
may I just say, Tara, too, that just to add to what Jackie just said, that is in part why we as Black Bride have yet to publish, because of the fear, which, you know, fear is not something, I mean, fear is relative, is you know, wrapped up in a lot of things, but to invest, you know, that type of money into, you know, 10,000, you know, issues or better to go in these different stores, and, you know, seeing it marked up. I mean, I've had visions of that marked up, you know, with some hateful, look at the climate that we're in now person, or it just completely taken off the shelves in the back. So that's in part why we started with digital to begin with. But that, you know, Jackie, I can feel your pain, not even, you know, fully just knowing that, you know, what you guys went through with that.
Thank you. You answered my question because I was going to you next.
Okay.
So thank you. So Eliana, your magazine is new within the industry. So what were some of your growing pains as far as testing the market and trying to identify like where your brand should fit?
I won't say I had too many struggle pains. And specifically, since I already had the statistics from the book, I knew my major markets, and just being a wedding planner and event designer, that already put me ahead of the curve, to be honest, because I knew where the inquiries were coming from. I knew where the brides, where my audience for the magazine would come from. So for my very first issue, we had Time Inc. as our distributor, and they saw the vision right away. It literally was like an email from the vice president, let's go. And we had over 10,000 copies, all nationwide. The problem with that is that we just sold out really quickly. You know, we couldn't, I think our sell-through rate was about 86% on our very first issue. Since then, we have parted ways with our distribution. So we are only print, we don't have digital. The only time I will go digital is if I'm out of copies, because what happens is that if someone just finds, I'm on collection 4, if someone just finds out about us, they go ahead and buy the previous issue. So it's great to kind of watch that data come in and out, because I do get the report every single day. So we're kind of more, it's a little different than a traditional publication. We're not summer or fall, we're literally a collection. It's one time a year, anywhere from 300 to 400 pages of celebrations, because you cannot get through that magazine in one sitting, you know, so, and that's my goal. So I can't say I've honestly had a lot of challenges. I do speak to my community a lot and kind of hear like what they're talking about, what they're going through, what they're looking for. And because I'm with social media, I'm sure all of us, you know, you hear what the brides are asking for. They're in your DMs, they're commenting. I'm seeing what's tagged and what they are ultimately wanting to see, and I let that be the driving force.
So you're leading to one of our questions that is a question down, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you answer it. When you're talking about what is it that your consumer is looking for? So how do you choose the content? When do you choose that the content is appropriate for your audience? And is it through social media? How are you getting these metrics?
Yeah, it's a mix of a lot of things. We do get heavy submissions. I'm the firm believer there's a beauty in everything. Ultimately, honestly, it's great photography, great details. Our magazine is very much more design and detail focused, because that is our clientele. We don't have many pictures of the couple in our magazine. Of course, they're highlighted and their stories highlighted, but I'm a designer. So I'm thinking of it from someone that wants great photography, great details. You know, the weddings are pretty much, I would say, I mean, we publish weddings of every price point, so it's not necessarily high-end luxury, but I would tell you if that wedding is $30,000, $40,000, it's gonna look like $100,000, the way how we lay it out. My team is exceptional when it comes down to it, and we all have a similar eye. So if it doesn't make it to the magazine, 9 times out of 10, it will definitely still make it to the blog, because I still see beauty in the union and the event. So we get a lot of submissions. If not, it could be, you know, someone's published it, or it's a lot of, I'll be honest, a lot of planners or photographers know that they have something that's coming up that will fit the criteria, and they will reach out to me beforehand and say, hey, we have this wedding coming up. Either can you come, I definitely want to submit it to you, this is my plan, or even from a style shoot. So we're kind of involved in the process beforehand, or if they post it and I want it, I'll let them know.
I want to ask really quickly, sorry. I wanted to, JC, I think we skipped you on the question of tech, and just listening to Aliana and ELANA and Jackie talk about, and Mary talk about digital. You know, we are in the age of digital right now. Everything's digital. We have Pinterest, Instagram, everything is visually right here in the power of the phone. What caused you, what made you decide, like, we need this right now in this day and age? And now include coronavirus in it, and you're stuck at home.
No problem. Yeah, I was missed on the introduction as well. So again, as a patent attorney, the reason why I came up with Web is that I saw that everything was so focused on the wedding and not the marriage, and not marriage as a constitutional right. So instead of being reactive, I was proactive, and I own the only patent to online weddings. And I have courts and people all around the world paying me and using me for that patent. But wow. Yes, I own the patent and the only platform as a Black woman. Wow. I like to say that we have combined the like three most powerful elements in the world: love, law, and technology. But into doing a lot of research, I did my research more on technology, on cyber jurisdiction, on marriage as a constitutional right. We just had the loving anniversary that just left. And also how I felt that so many people were focused on the wedding and not the marriage, and the marriage is the foundation. So I wanted to have a way for the military, or even people that are in jail, as a form of rehabilitation or a new way of eloping, because so many things were advancing, but not marriages, not to be able to get marriage licenses. So that was one of the reasons that, you know, I did Web, and after doing so much research, I'm saying from 2012 to 2015, 4 years of doing research, going to almost every country and every state and every courthouse, doing all the research and seeing that it was a need. And when everyone else says no, everybody is on virtual wedding now. But in 2015, no one believed it. No one gave me a chance. But now, you want to do it, you have to come through me, or you will write me a check. It's just how it works.
Wow. And it kind of answers the question of you group seeing a gap, seeing that there was something missing, and you fulfilled the order, because the lack of diversity in the other mainstream publication caused us all to create a platform, build our own table, that led to all of these platforms, even though we were all challenged trying to decide whether or not, should I print, should I go digital, should I print, what should we do? But now coronavirus, COVID, is just like, oh, you still want to get married? That hasn't stopped. It's just been postponed. Mm-hmm. And people are now using Zoom like we are, just to engage with one another. So I think it's brilliant.
Right. Thanks.
Pivot this way.
Thank you so much. So many people use Zoom, but we actually own our own platform in about 7 states. You see a lot of the states using them, but they're actually using our legal technology and paying us per license for the technology. So even though a lot of people use Zoom, there is a Black technology that is not third party, that is as a coder and as a licensed attorney that we developed, that a lot of people are not using, but I have the government and the military using it, but no one in our community is highlighting that at all.
So how do you intend to show us all how to get on that and reach both the consumer and the professionals in the industry?
So what I've been doing, a lot of times I've stayed in the background on a lot of things, but what I do is that I'm advocating in a lot of states for marriage as a constitutional right. I am the reason why most states and people can do licensing this day, not the courts. Every court that you saw open, I put myself in danger. I got on a plane. I met with all the governors. I showed them this. I said, hey, we need to do this. This is not an option. It is a constitutional right. And because I did those things, a lot of people are able to do the virtual weddings, or are able to start to elope. So with me, again, as you know, I would like to be an administrative judge. So I am very proactive in changing the laws, and so people understand the court system and how it works. So I'm kind of on the other side, being proactive in getting, you know, just bringing marriage as a constitutional right, not something that somebody is just doing. You have a right, a constitutional right that could not be denied. And once I presented that, more and more courts started to open up. But it took a sacrifice. When no one else would go to New York, I went. When no one else would go to California, I went. And so that's what I am doing on that end. I'm going to meet with the military. I'm going to meet with the jails. I'm going to meet with the people that are overlooked because they may not have that budget. Also internationally, I fly out to the UK where marriages are banned now, but they won't be banned anymore because they're going to use WebWeb the same as Canada. So I'm kind of doing it the old-fashioned way, but I'm getting it done.
Wow, congratulations. I think we have one more guest. Miss Cooper from Signature Brides is here. So Tara, if you could let her in. But I think Elana, you're up for the question that Tara had. Can you ask the question again, Tara? So Elana could converse.
Yes. So what was the research as far as like, I'm sorry, the determining your target audience and knowing like the preferred social networks, the research that you went in to make sure that you're in front of your couples, your Southern couples?
You know, much like Eliana, I was able to pull from my inquiries and the people that were interested in ELANA Walker events, whether that was on Facebook, whether that was on Instagram, whether that was, you know, inquiries coming in. That's pretty much how I kind of grasped that. And then from there, I was able to grow it, see how it, test things out as far as are people interested in this, and build from there.
Okay, awesome. And as far as each of you all have an online some type of digital platform, how is it in comparison to print or just utilizing Instagram? Mary, I'll have you to answer that question.
Well, you know, for us, just because we are currently a digital, we just decided to start digital with the magazine after research and researching, you know, the magazine world and seeing how some of the larger magazines were pivoting from print to digital, and then realizing that print has a worldwide reach, you know, that brides in Ghana can be looking at the magazine online. That doesn't mean that we're not going to print. It's just a part of our business model for the future. Mm-hmm. So for me, you know, I just spend a lot of time researching, making sure that it makes sense to, you know, have a magazine in print and making sure that it's going to be lucrative in terms of how it's underwritten and all of that. So, and how we distinguish the difference of what, in terms of Instagram, you know, our Instagram audience versus our digital magazine audiences, it really is two different things, because Instagram really doesn't drive readers. You know, to me, Instagram really drives followers. It's people follow you and you grow your network, you grow your platform, and then you can, you know, share your vendors and people that advertise with you with your audience there. But I saw someone talk about what are you going to do if something were to happen to Instagram? How are you going to, you know, capture, you know, that audience? What have you done to make sure that you know, have a big audience outside of Instagram? So I don't really necessarily compare the two.
Okay, all right. And you want to introduce our new guest that has come on?
Lynn Cooper, are you here? We see your picture, but are you frozen?
He's on mute, I think.
Oh, Lynn, can you hear us? Yeah, it's a little choppy. Yeah, it's very, 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 very choppy. Do you want us to come back to you And when you come back, when you get that, we can come back with you without a problem. So I just wanted to quickly ask the question.
Now, can you hear me now?
No, it's really bad. Yeah, it's you're frozen. Maybe if you,
sorry. I will try to come back to me now.
Yeah, do you want to log out and then come right back in?
Perfect.
And let's see if that works. I think Mary and Eliana touched on this particular question that I, wanted to ask, and I know definitely JC, you said it, about the funding. You guys made the sacrifices, the hard sacrifice of investing in your business because of this market that was that's so underrepresented for the consumer that you're getting. Now with coronavirus and COVID and all that's going on, the PPP and all this other stuff that's happening, I personally didn't have access to any of that stuff. It took sacrifice on my family and just working jobs and taking gigs to give birth to what World Bride Magazine is. Can you guys just allude to what were some of your challenges actually starting this magazine, and did you get the financial help, crowdfunding, loans, or anything to get this off the ground? And the reason I want to tell the audience that's listening, the reason why I'm asking these women this question is, at least for me, I can speak for myself. I don't have the luxury of having Hearst, Condé Nast, or Meredith publication to back me up, or venture capitalists. So this was a sacrifice of love and a commitment and a dedication for 22 years that I knew I would have to take. So I wanted to answer that question first, but turn it over to any of you ladies that can let our audience and our listeners understand how difficult and how long this journey has been for you guys. Anybody?
Jackie?
Sure. If we're talking about funding, it's already difficult to get funding as a Black female-owned business. So if you're trying to get VC capital, it doesn't matter what you do, whether it's technology, whether it's publishing, we're talking about less than 2 or 0.2% to actually get funding. So no, we didn't get any VC funding. When we started with loans. Family and friends kind of pulled together and listened to our crazy idea, and you borrow this one day and you borrow that the next day, and you work on paying it back, and you try and figure out how to make things work and what to purchase and how to maximize your little dollars. And what's most important is that we learned how to listen to our audience and build an audience. So we have an audience of people who totally get us and we understand what they're looking for. So because we built such a huge audience, we can now monetize that in many different ways. It would be great if we had funding, because we can do a lot more much quicker, but unfortunately with the way things go, it's extremely difficult to get any type of VC funding, especially when you're in the publishing industry.
I would like JC to answer that question, since she comes from a legal background and would understand all of the terminology and whatnot. So I would love to hear your input on that.
Sure. So in reference to funding, if you didn't know, we actually went on Shark Tank. So but we went on Shark Tank, and my husband and I, we actually got a deal. But it's not, what everyone it thinks how it works. So before then, actually, my husband and I, we didn't know exactly what we were going to do. We just know we needed to do it. So instead of paying for a tech team, we went backwards. A lot of people look for funding if they have a, idea. But what we did is that we did everything ourselves. So we sent ourselves to school to Georgia Tech to learn how to code and did everything ourselves. And then we went on Shark Tank to get a deal, got a deal. And then it just fell through because they only wanted to buy us out. But what I was a little bit smart cookie into this because of my patent. I use it as a service mark. And so my technology, I basically sold it out to courts, and I used that to keep funding back into the business. And I went after corporations and got to deal with the military. So we actually self-funded, and I made sure that when I made the model that I had zero to no overhead costs. But what it took me as time. So it just took me a lot of time, but we self-funded, and it was very hard at the beginning because I thought that, okay, a Black woman, I'm gonna get a lot of money. And I found out that no, that's exactly not how it works. And I wasted a lot of time, and I also lost a year because when you go on Shark Tank, you can't do anything. So for a whole year, I was stuck not doing anything. And that's when I really did most of the research and realized, hey, I'm tired of going and asking out. We just have to do it ourselves and improve it. And so that's what we did. And right now we're about to actually go public. So for us, we took a different approach to it in the sense of self-funding and also having a model where it can make money for us while we grow with a service, with a service mark on it. But it's they really don't display when they or people put out that you can get money as a Black woman or PPE, or there's so many grants and so many of this. I did every pitch in the world, and it's not exactly what you think when you get into the contracts or when they say it's funding for a Black woman. They may say that, but that's not who is meant to be given to, just to be honest with you.
Oh, I know that because I had to register my PR business as a minority. Well, I did minority-owned small business, and we can't win half the contracts we qualify for because somebody already had it and won it, but they just went through the tail just to confirm this, to say we tried, but nobody showed up for the job. It's pretty much the challenges that I'm sure you guys face. When it comes to advertisement, it's the same thing. You show up and they say they have. It's bad enough that General Market gets the bigger publication, code word for white publications, but now we're fighting for 20% of that dollar. And look, there's already 6 of us here. So can you imagine the other ones that are not present? So we're all fighting for the same 20%. So it becomes challenging, but we know among all of you guys, your platforms, we're well over 2 million, 3 million people combined as a force. So if we show the numbers, how do we explain why we're not getting the diversity dollars that they say they have allotted, for us, And I think that to me was the question, the reason why I had that question, because I think people think that it's easy or we're less than. It's not that we're less than. In my opinion, I think we're greater than. You guys are greater than because you're working with less money. And if this is what you're producing, can you imagine if you put money in your pockets? It would be out of the box, and I feel like, does anybody else want to answer the question?
Lynn does. She's been co-signing on a lot of things there.
I mean, I think it's just hard right now. Over the years, I can remember, just going into businesses and they're saying, okay, we want to advertise for Black brands. And I'd be in a room full of white men who would tell me, okay, well, we don't need to advertise in this magazine or this particular radio show you're working on because we got Steve Harvey and he wrote a book, Think Like a Man, and act like, I'm like, come on. Like they have a total misconception of who we are and what we are. And they also think that we're one monolith of people and we are not. And so that's the thing that I try to focus on to educate folks when I go into a room. We are not just one thing. And to showcase our diversity across the world.
Lynn, can you tell us your magazine, please? Because I want everybody to know what magazine you represent.
Sure, I work with Signature Bride magazine. I am one of the co-founders. We actually launched back in the late 90s. They had a small bit of funding, they sold out, and basically had to close their doors because they couldn't get the advertisers after a while. And now we're back. So I joined on last year after leaving Ebony magazine, where I was the integrated marketing director there. And so I'm really excited to bring my skills to show Black love.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank
Did
you.
Anybody else want to answer that question before Tara takes it to the other one? As far as funding or how you guys are managing with advertisers, crowdfunding and all of that?
Yeah, I can answer really quickly. For us, everything has been self-published from the magazine to the book. Right now, we're weathering the storm just by being innovative, adding new products, adding our platform. So that's our extension of our digital side, is kind of working with different advertisers and business professionals on their business hub, making the back end of their business as beautiful as the front end and all the pretty pictures. So we're kind of just, I don't call it a pivot because it's definitely just an add-on, and we have so many phases in the work. So we're excited about it.
Congratulations.
And with the add-on, with COVID-19 going on, has it affected any of you guys as far as the way that you're doing business now?
Well,
I know
for
me as
me,
a planner, things have come to a screeching halt. So what are you guys seeing that your consumers are wanting from you?
Well, I'll say, you know, one of the things that we do yearly is a bridal show, and you know, we're also very self funding as well. You know, we do little things, you know, have events and things of that nature that fund other things that, you know, bigger things that we do. But with COVID looming, I'm not exactly sure that the bridal show will be able to happen in February. So now, you know, we're having to kind of think of, okay, how can we, you know, still remain present? How can we still remain relevant? Even though, you know, we may not be able to have the bridal show. How can we adjust it to still service our vendors that are very loyal and dedicated to supporting us, and still, you know, and provide brides with that resource.
Thank you.
Yeah, same for us. COVID was definitely a positive thing for us when it came down to the publishing world, because we were able to, all of our advertisers are at home, right? And they're worrying about what to work on. They're worried about money. They're worrying about the back end of their business, new websites and things like that. So we were actually able to handhold, expedite features that we were working on, just to say, hey, we're here with you in the trenches, let's go, so that when things does bounce back, you're 100% ready to hit the ground running. So we just really took advantage of the situation by working on, I can't stress this enough, the back end is the key. That's your money maker. So going back to the money aspect of things, because we can get so caught up on all the pretty on Instagram and being featured. Right now, we don't have content, so we're all repurposing. But while we're doing that and keeping the brides and the celebrants, because it's both of them, getting them excited and having them out there, but let's make sure that the whole package is complete. So honestly, it's been a blessing for the Be Collective Media Group. So we're not excited about it because no one's excited about a pandemic, but all the pandemics that we're going through, if we don't come out of this stronger, we're all missing, you know?
Well, we're doing great. I do about 700 weddings a month, and I've opened up, we do a wedding every 30 minutes. I've opened up 2 more offices, and I've got 8 states under contract. So where business picked up for me about 40%, because before I would mainly just do military or jails, or the planners, I would actually donate my service like for free, like the streaming for free. So that's what we were doing before. But now more people that want to elope, especially internationally, that can do it legally. And that's the catch, legally. With the travel ban, immigration, citizenship, I can get everyone married legally, and they can become a citizen, or they can travel if they want to go through us. But so it's been great for us.
So how do you see your WebWed integrating with these ladies here?
Well, I've some of the ladies I know, and some of them I don't know, but from the beginning, and especially the office in Atlanta, when I first started, I went to a lot of events, and I tried to pitch WebWeb to a lot of people and say, hey, you know, you can use the streaming for free, or donate it to, you know, different planners to say, well, this is a platform, or this is what you get add on. But I guess at the time, I guess it wasn't, you know, people weren't as interested, you know, in it, you know, at that point. But as of right now, if someone comes to me and say, JC, we want to use a platform, we changed it where it was $1.99. I put it at $1 so that people could be able to use. And right now, if I have a planner that comes to me, or a bride that comes to me, and I personally feel that they still want to, you know, have their wedding in a big day, then I say, you know what, let me find a planner. And I know a planner can do a micro or wedding, you know, because that's my way of working with, because it's not just about the money for me. I try my best to collaborate, and you'll see on my page so many times that I refer out to a lot of planners so that they can get that money, you know, if I feel like it's for them. And I have changed, again, my streaming platform, and a lot of people are starting to use it instead of Zoom now. So I changed it to be $1. So I'm trying my best. So I tried to connect with a lot of people. We got overlooked, but we're not overlooked anymore. But I offer the streaming for $1.
That's wonderful.
And if I could chime in, we also partnered with you, JC. So actually, we just finished our first virtual wedding promo. We gave a couple who had to postpone their wedding a virtual wedding and a honeymoon for 2021, and it was super successful.
It was great.
It was awesome, and so I'm looking forward to doing more. You know, our business model had to change, but as a person that's coming from a background of digital, this for me was an easy pivot. And fortunately, we found other great Black brands to support us in getting this done. So I'm excited about doing more things with WebWed.
Right, and that's great. So that's a great example of how I'm giving back and working through. So I'm working with Signature Bride, and that's what we're doing where people couldn't afford. You know, they were one of the only ones that reached out, and I said, yes, whatever you need, I'll take care of you. And it wasn't about the dollar, and it's something that we're doing. So when people reach out, and even if they don't reach out, I try my, you know, best to reach out, but I'm trying to give my platform and let people know that it's here if you need it. And we also do free marriage education. I think that is so important. So again, one of my masters is in counseling. So that's something that I offer. I was doing it in Atlanta for free, whether people use it or not, for like planners, if they needed a place or for them to go to get this free marriage education. And I would do it even if I didn't do the ceremony. And then they will get their license for about $16 instead of $80. But, you know, those are my way, you know, of trying to give back and be a part of a team.
Right.
And JC, while you're talking, someone is asking the question, when will WebWed go public?
Thanks so much for asking. My husband and I are looking to go public with, it's called ComUtech. That's the name of the technology, the version that we have. We have 2 more things with the SEC that we need to check off, but we're hoping the end of this year to go public.
Okay, awesome, awesome. We have tons of questions here. I was just looking at the questions that are in the Q&A box. Let's see here. As far as disrupting the industry, how do you feel like each one of you will be disruptive in the industry? You're already disruptive. So let the audience know, people that aren't aware of, you know, the brilliance of each and every one of you. What is it that you're going to do to just like knock it out of the park?
Well, I can start. I feel like we just starting the publication back when we started was already being disruptive. Having more publications like we do now is really important. When we're talking about COVID and everything that has shut down, one of the things that's come out of it is being able to sit with the Procter & Gamble's and the Johnson & Johnson's, and maybe we can now get a bigger percentage of that, you know, that 20% they dedicate to multicultural, which is now broken down into like another percentage for Black and another percentage for Latina. There was a time when we couldn't even have conversations, but now because of everything that's happening, we can have those conversations and we can tell them about our audience and, you know, get some of those advertising dollars, which eventually will trickle down to everybody here because somebody has to get through and sit at those tables and make that happen. So just continuing to make sure that, you know, our audience is heard, that our multicultural brides and grooms are not being left out, and that all of us can thrive and succeed in some way. And truthfully, no matter what we're all doing here, we have to get advertising dollars in, whether they're coming from, you know, wedding vendors or they're coming from like the PGs and the Macs and the Revlons. They're gonna have to start listening to what it is that we're saying and really listening to our audience. So for me, a lot of conversations, new conversations have started happening because of all that's been going on. And I think it's really encouraging.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. I can remember when I first started, when I first took over Black Bride and, you know, thinking big, you know, like I like to do, and having gone to PG before and getting the no, because of course they want the big numbers. That's what they want. So, you know, spending time to build your brand is really important as well. And, you know, it's like you said, Jackie, having the ability to have someone be able to go in and crack that door open so that we all can walk through it together, I think is really important. But one of the things that, or some of the things that we've been doing, because I feel like before we really pivot, and just, you know, having been in business long before I even took over Black Bride, I think that before we even begin to pivot, what we've been doing is listening to our brides who, you know, call and they've been in a panic, you know, and finding out what they need, especially to support them in the future. And those conversations can be long and they take up time. And so it's important, and as we were listening to Mickey say, that, you know, engage, and make sure that you stay engaged with who you desire to serve. And also with the vendors, you know, we've spent a lot of time over the last 3-4 months talking to the vendors to see what they want, to see what's happening with them. How are they being affected by COVID? And now, you know, with this whole you know, racist, this whole issue with all of this murder and things that have been going on, you know, it's a true distraction. So how are you going to stay focused? How are you going to pivot? You know, I think that's a big buzzword, but, you know, to Ileana's point, you know, pivoting, it's something that you have to be careful when you think about. What I think about it is I want to make sure that I don't abandon things that we've already been working on and that we weren't able to do because of COVID. And because we've been quarantined and we can't have meetings, and, you know, people aren't in the office, people aren't working at hotels, you know, they're furloughed, you know. So I don't want to go into 2020 and forget about 2021 and forget about what we wanted to do this year. So I want to make sure that we don't abandon those goals, but I also want to make sure that we look at where people are today so we can meet them there.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to, at this time, Meredith, if you don't mind, bring to the table some of the questions from the audience. We have some that are pretty consistent, even prior to today, as far as some that have been sent in. And talking about, Mary, you kind of hit on as far as like what's going on in our environment now, as far as the recent events that have been happening, Black Lives Matter and so forth. This comes from another publication. They're asking, this is a question that was sent in prior, please share how non-people of color can be great allies to our peers in the community as a whole.
I can answer that one really quickly. And it kind of ties into your last question about disrupting. For us in the brand, we've definitely thought about approaching business and creating outlets and doing things that's never been done before. So really keeping that motto of be so good that they can't ignore you. So everything from the award show that we have, from the platform, and what's happening now in our world, especially in the climate of our racial tension in the wedding industry, is that our partners and other publications are coming and saying, how can we support you? And literally having phone calls and saying, what collab makes sense? What genuine, authentic, because to me, that's the key, is that it needs to be genuine and authentic of how we can partner, what that looks like. And that will just open up opportunities for everyone. So we're kicking the door down kind of a little bit of a different way. So having our advertisers have opportunities that's beyond just an intern created list, something that's really genuine and just puts our face on the map.
Anyone else want to answer that question?
Yeah, for me, I've been having conversations with non-Black publications, and one of the things I've been saying is get yourself in a room where you are the minority. You know, get to a place where maybe there are only 5 white people in the place. And I've told people, you know, there are a number of opportunities where you can do that. For instance, I've invited them to come to the conference. You know, a number of us here have our conferences and our platforms, and they're encouraged to come and understand the culture, understand the community, understand what it is that we do and what we're talking about and what we need, so that aside from putting us on, you know, a secondary list, you can actually do something more that's actually inclusive, you know. But you can't get to that point if you don't understand the people that you're trying to include. So I feel like they've got to really work at immersing themselves and putting themselves in places where they might not feel comfortable. We're used to doing it all the time. It's just natural for us, but they've got to actually make that happen, because only when they do that, they can then go back to the boardroom and say, hey, guys, this is what I think we should do. And this was my experience. And, you know, maybe you come with me next time and we start getting closer to whatever inclusion is going to look like.
Thank you. And Lynn, I'll have you answer the next question. How do you feel about white vendors creating affinity spaces to hold each other accountable to make changes in the industry?
You know, I'm happy to see the type of content that I'm seeing. But I would be remiss if I did not say a lot of it I feel like it's lip service. I don't know about you all, but when we've had brands approach us or pitch, my biggest problem right now is I hold them accountable. I want photos of people of color in the descriptions and things they give me, and they won't. We even had a terrible story at one point where a bridal designer asked us to take the white models and change them into black. So right now, like, I want to see it past, you know, the next couple of weeks. I want to actually see them, like I said, make sure that their boards and their diversity is there and that everyone is included. It's not, I don't want to be an afterthought anymore. Those who are allies, definitely speak up. I'm loving the things that I'm seeing online, but really educate yourself and actually take the time to speak to us. If you're going to want to be an ally, please don't assume that you know our journey. Take the time to understand what we're really saying.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to add to that, you know, what you just said, Lynn. It's just so important. And I just had the opportunity to interview the woman that made the statement, fashion can do better, the bridal industry can do better, which is where we got the title from. So it's not something we made up. And she said, we can do better. And Christy, and she literally said that not only does the designers have to be held accountable, the brides also have to hold people accountable too. You hold the purse. If you stop shopping with people that do not show you as a representation and do not value you, why do you continually go back to them? Because in my personal opinion, and I was hurt to hear it, when you have somebody from another publication that's comfortable enough to tell a vendor, you don't need to shop with a black or advertise with a black publication because we have black readers, you know, but yet you have nobody in your creative team that knows the black way of life, culture, or anything. And we're not talking about what you saw on BET. You know, that's just not fair. You know, black people come in various forms and various ways, and you can't assume that you can narrate or tell someone else's story and think that that's okay and then say, oh, I didn't know it would offend you. In what world are you living in that you feel that that's okay? And so for me, my question to you guys is, who do you feel should be held accountable, and how can we get our allies? Because I have to say thank you to all my white allies that literally have walked me through doors of people to say, hey, you need to support her. You need to buy ads in her magazine. And they have been embarrassed when they can't get a solid answer and they can't get it. Well, why not? And the people are saying, you know, so what do you say to that? How do we hold other people accountable?
Well, I'll go first because I'll be really quick. I've said this to you guys before, and I'll say it again in public. We cannot hold everyone else accountable until we hold ourselves accountable. So it's no different than when a child is acting up outside and you blame the home. It starts at home. So we have a lot of work to do in our community before we can hold any other community to a certain level. So that's honestly my response.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? And then
Pretty much. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Jackie. No, go ahead, because I could talk about this for like 2 hours and we don't have that kind of time.
I was just saying, Eliana pretty much summed it up. We still have a lot of work to do within our community, but we also need to stop looking for people to accept us.
Right.
I stopped going to Bridal Fashion Week for that reason. I would go to Bridal Fashion Week. I would run around like crazy from New York, from show to show, only to get to a show and be told I would be in standing room. I went to a Bridal Fashion Week show. I don't remember who the designer was, one of the really high-end designers. And Diane Valentine was at that show, and they put her in standing room. And I remember her getting her bag and getting ready to walk out, and I was just like, you know, this is unbelievable. So I got to a point where I said, you don't have to accept me. It's going to take a while. I don't know how you were raised. You don't have to accept me, but I don't have to keep running around looking for your acceptance either, because I have an audience who's happy with the content I'm producing, and I know how to deliver the content to them. So I don't need to call people out publicly. I know that when people do come to me, especially white brands that are looking to, you know, maybe they're looking for a post, or they're looking for some promotion, or maybe they're just not in line, or I don't see anywhere where they've really supported the community, and then I'll have a private conversation with those people and, you know, try and tell them my perspective. But ultimately, we don't have to keep on waiting for people to accept us for us to be great. That's how I feel.
And I must add to that now, because, you know, I feel like, you know, when Mickey was talking about living through, you know, that era of the civil rights movement, myself, you know, as a child, like I personally don't think that we should, and I'm just going to say this, is hold people accountable for not doing things, because I feel like that's going to take away from the work that we're trying to do, trying to hold them accountable. Like we are, you know, in a struggle ourselves, so to speak. We have challenges, many challenges, in order for us to be successful, so that we can elevate our community. And if we are held you know, holding other people accountable, I feel like it just pulls us off track. I think that, you know, Ellie's right. We do have a lot of work to do within our own community to come together. And I think people are looking for that, and they yearn for that. I've had conversations with people that have said to me, just imagine, you know, the power that you all have together. I think that's the key. I think they want to see that. They want to see the unity. And that's to me, honestly, how we hold them accountable, because we do have to stop seeking acceptance from these platforms. I mean, we are already whole. Look at the work look at the work that our community is doing. I mean, look at the outstanding photography, planners work, you know, all of the decor, the design. Like we are empowered within our community. And I personally, in terms of adults, you know, even with my daughters, I'm like, listen, you're a grown woman. I don't, you know, I'm not gonna, I don't have time like to manage your life as an adult, and then, you know, try to manage what I'm doing, and then manage the community and manage other brands to accept what I'm doing, which, as you can all imagine, with a name like Black Bride, the doors that have tried to close in my face. But, you know, I thankfully, you know, from having a corporate background, I go back in, and I've turned a lot of no's into yes, because what I do is break it down for them with numbers. And you know, how many Black women are wearing that gown, your gowns? Think about it, you know, I mean, without naming names of different design houses, you know, right here, even in Atlanta, that have says, no, well, we don't want to be, we can't, or we're not going to be a part of your show. And I'm like, how many women is 90% of your clients or your customers are what? They're Black women. And then they're like, oh, yeah, I do want to be a part of the show. So we have to stay focused on, you know, what we're doing, in my opinion.
So what you're saying is show your receipts, keep your receipts, right, everybody?
I think that the reason why we all created, you know, our individual platforms is not to hold, you know, anyone accountable, but to pave our own way. So I think Yeah, I mean, if they are, it's up to them to meet us at this point, not us looking to them, giving them the handout of what to do and things of that nature. I mean, we need equal equity in this space. I think that that's very important.
I think having the private conversations, like Jackie was saying, that when the opportunities present themselves, and not that we're going to just shut the door in people's face and not give them tools or advice. I remember when I spoke in Minnesota about this, when there were a lot of white people asking about, well, we want to work with Black people, what should we do? And it's things like making sure that you have the presence of just minor things like having a Black person on your website.
Or on the front cover.
On the cover, but these
that
are just
still has not happened yet.
Right. These are just, vendors, vendors that, like a photographer, for an example. But it's like, and then they're like, well, how do we, where do we get models from? You can go to a college where a lot of Black girls aspire to be models. I mean, you go to your Black colleagues and ask them. That part is not that difficult to me. So I don't feel like we should shun people or not, talk to them or not invite them, but I mean, as far as giving away like what they need to do, I mean, I really have a lot to focus on as it is. And I know that we all do.
Mm-hmm. And to just state, it's a question, but I'm gonna go ahead and answer it for you guys. It says, where do we go from here? How do we create a database so we are aware of Black professionals in our industry? It's right here. Right here.
Right.
This is your Rolodex right here.
Exactly.
You can't find the industry professionals within all these people that are here.
Mm-hmm.
It's right here. And then lastly, JC Banks. People are wanting to get in touch with you.
Well, that's amazing.
So if you can say what your website address is real quick.
Yes, it's so long. It's www.webwedmobile.com. That's webmobile.com. And I actually answer the phone. You speak to me. I speak to every last person that's getting married and everyone, because I want them to see that ordinary people do extraordinary things. Mm-hmm. And I'm here for them every step of the way. They can call 1-855-932-9333. And I'll be happy to take care of them, or email me at info@webwedmobile.com.
Awesome.
Can everybody give out their information and their websites and,
We'll start with you.
No, don't worry about me. I want my girl.
Mary.
Go ahead, Mary. Go ahead.
Well, of course, our website is blackbride.com. We're Black Bride on Facebook, Black Bride 1998 on Instagram, because someone has, they took Black Bride on Instagram, but no one's using it. It's just like a pair of red lips. And we've tried to get it like for off and on for like 5 years, and getting through to Instagram or somebody at Facebook is almost impossible. So we use the 1998, which is the year that the brand was launched. And so it's Black Bride 1998 on Instagram. And we're Black Bride everywhere else, on Pinterest, Twitter, just Black Bride.
Thank you. Eliana?
Same, at Be Collective Mag is our main Instagram account, and there's tons out there. You have the baby magazine that's coming soon, but you can just go to thebecollectivemag.com and you'll find out all the great details, platform information, everything.
LYNN?
Sure, you can find us online at www.signaturebride.net. Like you, Mary, our .com is actually being held hostage. And you can find us across all platforms at Signature Bride.
Well, I forgot to follow us on Instagram. I'm sorry, on our After the Aisle, because I heard the JC talking about addressing love and life beyond I do, and so we've had After the Aisle since I took over Black Bride. It's been there. So After the Aisle on Instagram and Facebook.
Nice. JC, you are next on my screen, but you've already given out all of your information. So now I'm going to Jackie.
Okay, we are Munaluchi Bride on Instagram and on Pinterest. On Facebook, we're Munaluchi Bridal. You can find all of our content on munaluchibridal.com. That's the main website where all of our bridal content is hosted. You can find our conference at coteryretreat.com. You probably are going to spell it wrong, so just go to Munaluchi Bride and click on the link. Yeah, it's kind of complicated. You can find our motherhood content at Munamami on Instagram, on Pinterest, and munamami.com for the website. A lot of exciting projects I've been able to work on since I don't have basketball and sports and field hockey. So I'm excited about that. And you can find all of our content there. And we have our new issue, which will be out tomorrow. Working hard on it, but look out for that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. ELANA?
I am at southernnoirweddings.com on Pinterest, on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and then of course the website www.southernnoirweddings.com.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies. It has definitely been a pleasure to have you all here today, and I can't wait to see what each of you all have down the road, 2021 and beyond, because you're definitely disrupting the industry. Meredith, any last words?
Yeah, I want to tell you guys, thank you so much for participating in this conversation of unity and solidarity amongst us, because we are trailblazers and we risk takers that, people don't often credit us for. And I want to thank all the audience that has attended, registered, and so on, and emailed us. And I want to thank the Bridal Council for sharing this and inviting all the media outlets to come and listen and hear and learn from us, other media outlets that have been here in existence and have worked really, really hard in creating these amazing content. And so we just are looking for, we're not asking for permission, we're here. So you want to work with us, and thank you to all our allies that continue to support us and give us business, and the advertisers that are looking to do business with us. Thank you for the opportunity. And my website is worldbridemagazine.com for those that want to follow us, and on all platforms. And I really appreciate all you ladies for taking the time and agreeing to do this. And I'm so happy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Everyone
Thank
have
you.
a
Thank you.
wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.